Begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Crawley.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, as a reminder, this is a public meeting and is being recorded. For those of you who are calling in, please ensure that you have muted your line. Thank you. Is there approval of the minutes for February 15th, February 22nd, March 7th, 2024, briefing sessions, the February 27th, 2024 general session, and the May 29th, 2024 administrative briefing?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner Crawley,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce,
Oh, I see we're on that again today.
we are.
It's your turn. Me and John have done it regularly, so I guess it's your turn now. Yes.
Thank you, the minutes have been approved.
All right, engineer.
Resolution number
morning.
56024, resolution authorizing Chuck Septic Tank Sewer and Drain Incorporated to provide services as necessary for an immediate repair to the 970 Dublin Road sanitary sewer line, Franklin County, Ohio, declaring an emergency due to unforeseen issues, in the amount of $52,822.
Good morning, Commissioners, County Administration. My name is Fritz Crozier with the Franklin County Engineers Office. Commissioners, as mentioned, Chuck Septic Tank Service and Drain, Inc., CST, was hired to perform repairs to a failed sanitary sewer line at the Franklin County Engineers 970 Dublin Road facility. Procurement of services was performed via the three-quote certification process, and CST's price was the best and service was best available. During repairs, unforeseen conditions, including poor soil, were experienced, and it became necessary to perform additional work to stabilize the work area and maintain worker safety, which led to increased project costs. This resolution authorizes additional payment to CST in the amount of $52,822. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer this at this time.
All right, go ahead.
I'm sorry. If there are no comments or questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 56024.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 56024 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Resolution number 56124, resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding with Appriss Insights LLC to integrate booking data provided by the Franklin County Sheriff's Office into the sherifapp.com.
Good morning, Commissioners and County Administration. Albert Smith, Assistant Finance Director for the Sheriff's Office. Our resolution authorizes an MOU between our office and Appriss Insights. This will allow our office to share certain inmate information to create a database that will be utilized by our Sheriff's app. The development of the Sheriff's app allows victims of crime to access inmate information so that they can stay informed and updated on the status of an inmate. Pending any questions, I ask for your approval.
Interesting. If there are no comments or questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 56124.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 56124 has been adopted.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yep, thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Emergency Management Agency?
Resolution number 56224, resolution authorizing a contract with GoView LLC for the purchase of mobile surveillance camera trailers in the amount of $96,900.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff Young, representing Franklin County Emergency Management and Homeland Security. The protection of large crowd events, as well as election security, are two of the current 6 national priorities outlined by the Department of Homeland Security, and supporting these priorities is the purpose of our Homeland Security Preparedness Grants. The purchase of these 2 camera trailers will be utilized to supplement and enhance the safety and security activities put in place during special events such as Red, White, and Boom, the Columbus Marathon, Arnold Fitness Expo, and National Championship celebratory parades. Additionally, these cameras will be operational and available for the early voting period in which an increasing number of residents cast their votes at Franklin County Board of Elections. The contract with GoView LLC for the purchase of 2 mobile camera trailers is fully grant funded, and Ohio EMA has reviewed the process managed by Franklin County Purchasing and the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office, with GoView LLC being selected as the lowest and best bid submitted by 9 acceptable bidders. I'll gladly answer any questions and ask for your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 562-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 562-24 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Franklin County Children's Services.
Resolution number 548-24. Resolution declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation and requesting the auditor to certify the total current tax valuation of the county and the dollar amount of revenue generated by the tax levy.
Good morning, Commissioners. Zach Telerik, Director of the Office of Management and Budget and member of the Human Services Levy Review Committee. After a thorough analysis of the Franklin County Children's Services levy request, the committee recommends that the Board of Commissioners place a 10-year, 1.9 mil renewal levy with a 0.6 mil increase on the November 5th, 2024 ballot. The levy would commence in 2024 and would first be collected in calendar year 2025. The recommended tax would be $49.17 per year for a homeowner of a $100,000 owner-occupied home. This amount includes the increase of $21 per year and would be the first increase that Children's Services has seen in 15 years, since 2009. A copy of the committee's detailed report that supports our recommendation was sent to you last month. With the successful passage of this levy, Children's Services will be able to maintain the quality of services for Franklin County children who need them. The resolution presented today declares it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation and requests the certification of estimated resources by the county auditor. This is the first step required before the Commissioners may consider placing the issue on the ballot for the November 5th general election. Pending any questions, would ask for your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, I will move approval of Resolution 548-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 548-24 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Next is the community partnerships.
Resolution number 563-24. Resolution authorizing Community Partnership 2024 grant agreement with 22 nonprofit community agencies in the amount of $3,740,145.
Good morning, Commissioners, County Administration, Curtis Brown, Community Partnerships Administrator. This resolution will provide $3,740,145 in grant funding to 22 nonprofit organizations across Franklin County via the Community Partnerships Grant Program. This grant is a crucial step in our ongoing commitment to support nonprofit organizations that are dedicated to diminishing poverty within Franklin County. As nonprofit organizations play an essential role in addressing and alleviating poverty in our community, these organizations provide valuable services and resources that improve the quality of life for many of our residents. The Community Partnerships Grant is designed to empower 501c3 organizations that serve Franklin County residents. By providing this grant funding, organizations will aim to enhance their efforts and enable them to continue their vital work in reducing poverty. Our grant review committee, our grant review committee faced an incredibly difficult decision due to the high volume of applications that were received. Over 180 applications were received for this year's Community Partnerships program. The eligibility criteria for this grant required applicants to be a 501c3 nonprofit organization that directly serve Franklin County residents. This ensures that the funds are directed towards organizations that are making significant impact in our community. And if there are no further questions or comments, I respectfully request the approval of this resolution.
Oh, please, Commissioner Crawley.
Thank you, President Boyce. Thank you, Curtis, for bringing this resolution. I absolutely always love this time of year when we award this money to these nonprofits. Same with our health equity grants, because we know that they make a difference. But I just want to say, when people always ask me, what's the hard part about this job, right? It is what you just outlined. We got 180-something applications and wish we could fund them all great initiatives. I know it was a hard undertaking for the review committee, and I think the awardees that are listed will do an amazing job. I love that we have a partnership and a new partnership with some of these organizations. But this is also why I try to encourage people to come to general session and to come to briefing, to see what we're doing, how we're putting money out into the community, supporting organizations that are like really at the grassroots level, really have a pulse on the community all across Franklin County. And I want the community not just to know how much money we're putting out in the community, but what who these organizations are, what they're doing. I know that you and your team go out and do tours, you follow up with them, they submit quarterly reports, and so you know what the activity is, and my colleagues and I always get invitations to go out and tour. But I think that this is, when we talk about being the social safety net of the community, this is one way that we provide a safety net for all of our neighbors. And so thank you for this. I know some of the organizations like, when are we going to find out? And we've kind of kept it under wraps. So congratulations. But thank you for bringing this. I always love supporting this resolution.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Commissioner Carl. I couldn't agree with you more. This is the cool part of the job. And I wanted to just point out one that to share with the public why this matters. I just saw it. The one that's for the Charity Newsies. As a kid growing up poor, many of you know, I shared a story about my father being murdered when I was 7, and my family went through a really rough period of time for pretty much most of my childhood. A lot of chaos, and in fact, I was just at a family reunion this past weekend in Georgia with that side of my family, and that to this day, the trauma from my dad's murder is still very prevalent in our family. It was a very real situation. That being said, so we were in a very impoverished situation growing up, but I recall getting resources from Charity Newsy as a kid. In fact, people always ask me how I became a Steelers fan. So I grew up in the 70s, and that's right. Thank you, Commissioner Crawley. We won't talk up to the other member right now about the sports teams coming up here.
It's not necessary.
Yeah, it's unnecessary, right? Yeah. Playoffs, Super Bowl, I don't know. But,
We got a team.
I mean, yeah, I do see. Yeah. But as a kid, growing up in a very, very difficult time, they would hand out clothes to families, particularly for kids. And one year in the 70s, the Steelers were like team, and they must have donated a bunch of Steelers coats and paraphernalia to Charity Newsy or Salvation Army, one of those agencies that give out clothes. And so as a kid, I got that coat. I got that Steelers coat, and they were the big team then, and so it just kind of stuck. But the point is, my mom says to this day, man, you would never take that coat off. You would never take the jacket off. And the point I'm making is that it's the little things sometimes that are the difference makers for families that are at the core and root of the most challenged environment that you might be raising a family in. And sometimes a coat or a meal or some other element of resource that stabilizes their family can truly be the difference. And so when we fund these agencies, you can see the diversity in the resource they provide to the community. You can see the thoughtfulness that goes into it from our community partnership staff and the folks on our staff that participate in that process. And quite frankly, I truly believe that if we could, we'd fund everything. I think that's what the heart of this commission is. I see Dise Bivens smiling out there because she would truly fund every single thing that exists if you left it up to her. Yes, she would. But the point I'm trying to make is that, to Commissioner Crawley's point, this is the best part of the job. It is the best part. And you get out there in those agencies and you see the difference that it makes. Big Brothers Big Sisters. I wasn't a part of Big Brothers Big Sisters growing up. I wish I had been. I wasn't, but I was part of the Boys and Girls Salesians Club. And it's kind of similar. And they would kill me if they heard me say that, but they are. I'm telling you, that kind of resource to a family that is in a traumatic or tough time can be all of the difference. And it might be for just one kid in that family. It might be just the mother on that day, or the father on that day, or the family. But I'm telling you, the public listening, I'm telling you, this is the kind of thing that makes a difference. Every reference that I can think of why I'm able to sit before you today in the capacity I do, I think of agencies that I grew up around that were there for my family. And maybe at the time as a kid, I didn't know what was happening, but I do now. And I remember the agency names, I remember what they provided, I remember how that was making the difference. And so, anyways, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Well said.
Mr. President,
Yeah, please,
Um,
Mr. Grady.
Commissioner Boyce is always very fond of saying, this is his favorite agency or is the most, anyway, I'm just teasing him.
They're all my favorite.
Yeah. I don't know if this is my favorite part of the job, because I have so many favorite parts of this job, because it's the greatest job in the world, being a county commissioner,
It's not the
especially
greatest
in,
political, they're
especially in
the greatest
Franklin
office,
County.
no question.
It's just a great job, but I do love this work that you guys do, and I appreciate the work that you and Brittany do day in and day out. I think that the community partnership work that we do is fantastic, and I appreciate all of the community partners that we have. I often say that, we have all of these different agencies that come before us and ask for these community partnership grants. They all do, every one of them does fantastic work. And the work that you guys do in evaluating these grants and the work that you guys do working with all of our staff, evaluating these grants is so critical, because every one of these agencies does phenomenal work. We just can't possibly fund each and every one of them as much as we'd like to. And they've got to have, a great business plan. They've got to be sustainable. And so when we are able to raise these agencies up and say, these are the ones that we're going to fund, then and you can believe in and trust the fact that you guys have done your work, and that we've reviewed these agencies and said that these are the ones that are, the best of the best. And because we have limited resources, and these are the communities, these are the residents of Franklin County's dollars. And not that the rest of the agencies that we don't fund aren't fantastic. They're all doing great work. It's just that we have to be able to invest in the ones that we know are tremendous and have that sustainable, business plan and have the ability, we have the ability to be able to support, those and invest in those ones that are doing the great work. And not to single any of them out, they're all fantastic. And I don't want to, the charity newsies, I have so many friends that are charity newsies, even Commissioner Boyce's story about them notwithstanding, and I don't want to point out the shallowness of his story about the Steelers jacket and the reason why he became a Steelers fan. It's such a shallow story. But, such a great organization.
Yeah,
those
those 4
four
Super Bowls during that time. It's just, I don't know.
The reasons why
those 4
people-
Super Bowls
He
are
can't
just.
even relate.
The
Yeah.
reasons why people choose to be the fan and have the fandom that they have.
Can't
When you jump on the bandwagon, you jump on the bandwagon. People, long-suffering Bengals fans, good Lord, the reason, long-suffering Browns fans, there's a much deeper sense of fandom there. And we understand being a fan when, these guys, team loses a game, they go crazy and they want to fire their coach and they want to,
Choosing violence.
oh my God, so anyway, it is what it is though, so.
But speaking of violence, I do want to point out real quick, because we do know that there has been a lot of violence, a lot of shootings in our community. And so just want to lift up some of the organizations that are being funded through this grant that's working towards ending violence or dispute resolution. We have End the Violence. We have Center for Employment Opportunities, who are working with people who are coming out of the justice system, who need a second chance, but might have a violent background. We have Kingdom Image Arts, which is supporting a youth program, which we'll be talking about violence and dispute resolution. Femergy. I think there's another one. See, this is what happens when you do single some of them out. Like Youth Yoga Project, which is looking at getting our kiddos and our youth into, meditation and mindfulness, which will help with, regulating and being responsive to different things. And so we continue to, we passed the resolution, 2 years ago now, gun violence as a public health crisis, and have put a lot of teeth into that resolution and continue, not just through this, we do one-offs from time to time to really support TNT, where I know you were just there, Commissioner Boyce, and supporting that organization where there's been no violence and more than 1,300 people scanned in, but we know it was more than that attended. And so this is just another reminder of our commitment to addressing gun violence and just all violence in our community, and we will continue to do our part. And that's why I love working with my colleagues in administration, because, I mean, we just get it, and we try to answer the call whenever it's needed, so.
I'll just close with, it's sad when you have to never experience winning a Super Bowl for a team, and it's hard for them to understand when you win 4 in a period of time. Yeah, it is. But I do want to point out to Commissioner Crowley's point, the End of Violence program, and many of you know about our Rise Together efforts and our efforts to address poverty and racism, and the institute that we put together. And the idea there was to have something that would be a catalyst or facilitator of big ideas, different approaches. And what I like about some of these programs I point out in the violence is the non-traditional approach to addressing street violence and conflict. And we've got to think differently about how we engage the challenges of 2024. It's just not the same as it was even a few years ago. The mental health stress, the post-traumatic syndrome disorder, all of those things are much more broadly impacting our community, and as a result, you're seeing violence and other conflicts that just require a different approach. And so I'm really excited to see what they're able to do at really what I would describe as the grassroots front line of some of the things that are going on in our community. But that goes to say with all of these agencies, they're all frontliners, and they're all a part of this fight. And I just love and I want to encourage other grant seekers, come to us with big ideas, come to us with different strategies and new thoughts, and that's what gets my attention, is the things that we do differently than we do normally every day. Some of the everyday work is necessary for sure, but it's the creative thinking, it's the new idea, the big idea that really gets my attention. And I think this commission is built for that kind of thinking, more so than we have throughout the year. So
Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Commissioners. President Boyce, if I may.
Please,
I know
Curtis.
Brittany, and as you mentioned, Brittany and I do site visits with our organizations, and to your all's point, we do hear those stories of residents who they take part in this program that is funded by the county commissioners, and it does something to change their life. So we hear those stories all the time, and we even added a success story part to our reporting. So we're happy to share those if you all would like to.
Can you invite them sometime so we can hear them?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'd even go a step further, Commissioner Crowley. I like that idea, but in our annual report, let's try to highlight some of those impacts. So it's almost like an impact statement that zeroes in on a few that you might select that really tell the story of, and then maybe when we do our rollout, we can highlight it in that fashion too.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe even a video on the website, just something that helps the public know what the work does.
Mountain back there.
Yeah, where's Mountain back? Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
If there are no further comments or questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 56324.
Second. Oh,
No, I'm sorry.
564-24.
Moved and seconded voting. Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 56324 has been adopted.
Great.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks, Curtis.
Thank you.
D and I?
Resolution number 56424, resolution authorizing a grant agreement with the National African American Male Wellness Agency to support the African American wellness educational initiatives and events in the amount of $450,000.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners and County Administration. D'Amica Withers, Chief Economic Equity and Inclusion Officer in the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The mission of the African American Male Wellness Agency is to increase the life expectancy of African American men in physical health, mental health, financial health, fatherhood, and research. The African American Male Wellness Agency seeks to improve health outcomes affecting African American men who live across Franklin County and surrounding communities by engaging African American men and their families. The African American Male Wellness Agency contributes significantly to improving the overall health and well-being of Franklin County residents through their year-round health awareness initiatives. This grant agreement will cover the Real Men, Real Talk conference being held next Thursday on July 18th, Cooking with Dads, and the HIV Awareness Day. The African American Male Wellness Agency supports the importance of their parental relationship and offer programming that encourages the parent-child relationship as well as addresses the mental wellness of African American men. The Real Men, Real Talk program will host monthly conversations that will provide services to 400 African American men over a 12-month period, focusing on mental health and opioid addiction with a collaborative approach with local faith-based organizations, barbers, mental health specialists, and drug counselors. This resolution supports the Rise Together Poverty Blueprint Goal Number 9, reducing the overall incidence and racial disparities in occurrences of preventable diseases and trauma, and improving the health of those living with chronic mental, physical, and behavioral health conditions among those struggling financially. Here with me today is founder John Gregory of the National African American Male Wellness Agency, President Kenny Hampton, Senior Vice President Perry Gregory, Jonathan Bentley is back there, and other representatives from the African American Male Wellness Agency.
Good morning, Commissioner Carley. Good morning, Commissioner Boyce. Good morning, Commissioner O'Grady. And good morning, administration. It's an honor to be here again to have an opportunity to celebrate the partnership that we have in place. Mr. Gregory and I, we had the pleasure of traveling all over this country. And what I will say, he and I had a conversation this morning, and we wanted to really just highlight the fact that we do have the best commissioners in the entire country. The work that we're able to do here in this county, across this county with this partnership is truly the model. We've been able to partner with you. We've been able to go out into the community and provide impact to holistically support African American men and their families and some of the things that were just listed. And so every year we have an opportunity to celebrate and to honor individuals who are working very closely with us in this work. Back in 2022, we had Commissioner Boyce serve as our honorary chair for our Black Men's Wellness Day, known as the Walk. We also had in 2023, Commissioner Crawley serve as our Uplift Her honorary chair, our women's initiative. 2024, we've been able to celebrate and just recently had an incredible event where our 2024 Uplift Her honorary chair, DCA Bivens, was able to help us provide screenings for hundreds of women. Thousands of folks came out for that event. But this year, we're excited because we get an opportunity to celebrate and to honor Commissioner John O'Grady and to officially introduce you as one of our health heroes for 2024 with the African American Male Wellness Agency.
Thank you.
I love that.
There were some comments that you made several months ago when we were here that really stuck out to us, and it did not fall on deaf ears. But you said, you know what? You know, I'm a white man, and I don't really know a whole lot about the things that, you know, is plaguing the community, but I'm going to do my part. And so we can't thank you enough on behalf of the entire organization for the work that you're doing, a part of the most impactful and the best Board of Commissioners in this entire county. And our founder, Mr. John Gregory. World. You know what?
Yes.
I stand corrected.
World.
In the world.
Yes.
But at this time, I would like to introduce our CEO and president of the National Center for Urban Solutions, Mr. John Gregory.
Thanks, Commissioner Grady. We, as a big committee, got together and said, you know, who deserves this? And we all said that, you know, this fight would not be one unless all of us collectively do this together. And so it doesn't matter whether you're black or white, it matters where your heart is. And we know where your heart is at. Your heart is in helping the black community rise to the occasion. So we thank you. I'm also standing here to talk about Real Men, Real Talk. What you will see is that black young men between the ages of 16 to 24 has the highest incidence of suicide. Black men over the age of 40 have the highest incidences of overdose of opiates. We just met with the coroner's office and had a long conversation with the coroner. This data is not from me, this is from the coroner. And what we know is that the incidence of black young men and black men committing suicide is extremely high. We know that our own personal experience over the last 90 days, we've probably known 4 young black men who have committed suicide. And so, but we also know that talk therapy is really great. And so before I go on, I do have Mr. Nguyen, who is here with us, who can tell you about his experience in participating in our Real Men, Real Talk.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. To the Board of Commissioners and the administration for the Franklin County. My name is Roderick Nguyen. I moved here about 4 years ago, it'll be 4 years this November, my wife and I. And I met Mr. Gregory locally, and he invited me to come out to this Real Men, Real Talk. So I'm originally born and raised in Michigan, Flint, Michigan, and we moved here. And I met Mr. Gregory and some of his staff, and I went to the first meeting, and I was blown away because I've never seen a platform where men of color, and not only men of color, but men in general in that community can come together and have a conversation about not having a father, about living with a drug-addicted mom or a parent, living in a disparaged place, and they come together and they give them an opportunity to actually have a conversation. They don't present anything else to them, just have a conversation. And many that struggle for us, especially black men, to be able to express their feelings and their emotions. Mr. Grady and his staff, Mr. Gregory and his staff has allowed them to come into a place and not judge them, but allow them to have an opportunity to speak and to share. And some of the statistics that we know, when I moved here, I kind of looked at to see what Franklin County was about, and I seen that, you know, out of every 100,000 residents, 166 of them are headed to incarceration. Many of those youth are stuck in Circleville right now. And I'm working with him to do that. And out of that particular meeting with Real Men, Real Talk, we have birthed a program which is called Brother to Brother. And in that, we're also going into the prison ministry because Mr. Gregory has opened up our understanding to see. And when we celebrated 20 years of African American wellness on last year, I've never seen it in such a way. And so my 2 cents to this is this. It's not really how you change an individual, but it's how you make that individual feel valued. And so hopefully I'll be going into Circleville at the end of this month, but Real Men, Real Talk coming up is always an opportunity, and it is across this country that they're making that available to youth in this community, in every community worldwide. So thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Gregory, for standing with you and partnering with you and your staff, and I look forward to many years to come.
So we will be going into Whitehall, Reynoldsburg. We're also going to be going into the county jails, start Real Men, Real Talk there. So the funding that you give us, really, it goes directly into having impact in our communities. And how do we get these guys to come? Well, we pass out cards, we knock on doors, we go to churches, we go to barbershops, we go to basketball courts, we go to bars, and we talk to men. And you would not believe the number of men that show up and really just open up and talk. And actually, I was at the barbershop the other day. I do go to the barbershop even though I don't have hair. A woman came up to me and she said, Mr. Gregory, I just want to tell you that my husband does nothing. He doesn't go nowhere. He said, that Real Men, Real Talk, he does not miss a day of going and participate. We have a social media page. It's a closed page where men can come in and log in and have conversations. You will be glad to know that next week, Eric Robeson, R&B singer, has a song out. This year our campaign was Mask Off. R&B singer Eric Robeson has created a song called Mask, and he is going to put that song into full production and release it next week, in which across this country that started in Columbus, Ohio, we're having black men take their mask off. And if you could see the stuff that they write on their mask and write inside their mask, it would bring you to complete tears. We were in Detroit 2 weeks ago, Kenny and we met with a group of brothers. Detroit's a hard place. And brothers stood up and talked about they had never experienced an event where they looked eye in eye with another black man. And some of them talked about the fear that they had, the only time they ever looked in the eye in eye of a black man when it was time to fight. And so when we talk about reducing crime, when we talk about reducing violence, we have to talk about where does it all start? And it starts with mental wellness. And so if we get men mentally well, particularly black men, then we can begin to change our community. All of you all know, I started out in a community called Uzi Alley. And it was in that community that we were able to reduce crime by 80% and change that community because we were able to change the lives of the people in that community. So I just want to thank you for this opportunity to continue this work, to continue to change men's lives. Your staff came out last week. We had a graduation. I just want to share this before I end. So I brought a program you did fund, and I wanted to talk about the success, our doula program. But I also want to talk about how your work, when you fund grassroots programs, how they impact. There's a young lady here by the name of Destiny. Destiny, you still here? Yep. Come here. This is Destiny. Destiny, when she came to us, she was on public assistance. She came as a wet worker. And she got off of public assistance. She got a job. We gave her a job, and she was employed. And then, guess what? Destiny went and became a doula certified. I don't know if I'm saying that word right. And this year, now Destiny does our, just because of the funding you gave us last year, we were able to get certified through the state of Ohio. We're the only organization certified by the state career colleges to do a doula training. Destiny now is our doula certification trainer. And Vivian and them came out last week, and they saw a lot of our women, about 17 of them, graduate from the doula training, which is very critical, particularly in black female maternal health. Destiny, tell them about your experience.
Okay. Greetings, everybody. My name is Destiny Daniels. So a little bit about me is I did come through this organization originally through the WEP program and was employed with them for 3 years. And during that time, I did get training as a doula and then left the organization for roughly 5 years and now returned with the doula program, writing the curriculum and now teaching the curriculum. And it's absolutely amazing to come full circle, leaving them to enter into birth work and then returning to help teach. With our first cohort of students, we have all of them completed the program, passed with flying colors, and have already started to attend births. So we've had a mother-daughter duo who graduated and have recently attended a successful home birth. We've had another student who has attended an induction and is actually scheduled to attend another induction later this week and a scheduled C-section the following week. So we already have one student who's on their way to getting their full certifying births. And we are already completing our second cohort of students. They are taking finals this week. And so the ball is rolling. We're making a lot of contacts within the community, and we've been in conversations with companies such as Celebrate One, Moby Nurses, to get our doulas hired and on their way to completing their certifying birth. So I'm grateful for being here. Thank you.
So I just want to thank you for the work that you do. It does make impact. It does make a difference. And so when you turn on Good Morning America in about 3 weeks and you see Real Men, Real Talk on Good Morning America, know that it started in Franklin County.
Just make sure you say that. Yeah, when you're on Good Morning America. Yeah, please, Commissioner Crowley.
Thank you for being here today, and thank you for the work that you all continue to do. Obviously, the doula space is near and dear to my heart, but also the mental health space. Some of you may know we did a talk, DEI did a talk, 2 years ago, where we were talking about mental health, and I talked about how I'm a 2-time suicide attempt survivor. First time I attempted suicide was 19. The second time was 25 after I had given birth to my twin girls, which was a very traumatic pregnancy, not understanding at that point in time I was dealing with depression, postpartum depression. I have a history of depression due to my upbringing coming up in Youngstown, having parents that struggled with addiction for 21 years of my life, and all the things that come with that. And so it wasn't until, and I would not talk about it. I would not talk about depression. I wouldn't talk about being a survivor of suicide or having 2 suicide attempts because of the stigma, because of the shame, because I didn't want to be judged, because I felt like people wouldn't understand the life that I came from and really just couldn't even empathize. And it wasn't until, and I tell this story all the time, it wasn't until I started running for office, before I started running for office, I was getting my signatures, collecting my signatures to get on the ballot, and that's how I met Jessica Roach. She was at Driving Park with a table letting people know about the services that they provided, and somehow I just went up and picked up a flyer, and it was talking about coming to an event, or they were having services for people who experienced traumatic pregnancies, and then she reached out and invited me to one. And in that circle, she wasn't even there. And to know me, I had only been living here not even 3 years. I'm an extreme introvert, and I wasn't going to go, and she called me to make sure that I would attend. So I went. I didn't share in that group, but what I got to do is be in community with people who had a lived experience just like I did, and make it seem like it was okay, even though I had suffered from depression, had a traumatic pregnancy, complications that were horrendous, that I wasn't alone. And then I was able to get my voice to talk about my story and to share. And so I talk about all the time how I come to this work from my own lived experience. I don't talk about things in theory, I talk about things that I know. And so that is how I got my why, and why I started running for office, talking about maternal mortality and morbidity. And in Ohio, if you are aware, when it comes to maternal mortality, the leading cause of death among pregnant women and postpartum women is mental health issues, broad. So substance use, but depression, anxiety, suicide, all of that. And this is Minority Mental Health Month, and I was getting ready to post about me being at Nationwide Children's Hospital a couple weeks ago, sitting with Charlita Tavares and Stephanie Kunze, talking about my experience trying to break the stigma, right? But also letting people know that I am in my early 40s and live a full, productive life. And me sharing my story out loud has come with, me having anxiety about that and not wanting to be judged. But also, I know that if I could save one person's life, whether it's talking about my pregnancy or talking about being a suicide attempt survivor and living a full, healthy life, then it's all worth it. I have had men come up to me and say, thank you for sharing your story. I'm from Youngstown, or, I come from a similar background, and I feel like, nobody understands, but you sharing your story lets me know that I'm not alone. I say all the time that I'm more transparent than I've ever been about my life. If you know me, I'm very guarded. But in order to do this work, I didn't want to be a hypocrite. I didn't want to talk about why we needed more investment in mental health services, whether at the state when I was there or here, from a place of not even willing to disclose myself. I just am always going to be my full authentic self. And I am appreciative for you all in providing a platform to individuals, or I like to say our neighbors, so they can be in community with one another and know that it's okay to not be okay, but it's also not okay to stay there, that that there is help, there are resources, and you are never alone. So I appreciate all that you all are doing in the doula space. That's my thing, continuing to work in the legislature and with the governor's administration to get Medicaid reimbursement for doulas. into law. I know we continue to work on that. Kevin Pangrace, our government affairs director, has been my right hand on that. Thank you for what you're doing there, because it will make a difference in the lives of women here in Franklin County and across the state, but most importantly for Black women who continue to die at almost 3 times the rate of white women. And almost 60% of those deaths are deemed to be preventable. So we have work to do, but glad that you all are a partner. Thank you.
Commissioner O'Grady?
Misters Gregory, Perry, and John, appreciate the honor. Everybody with the African American Male Wellness Walk, or Wellness Agency, I'm sorry. It was unexpected for sure. And all I can say is I was raised right. Had some great parents who taught me to recognize, the right thing to do, sometimes recognize injustice, recognize what needed to be done and do something about it, and not be afraid to do something about it. And thank my colleagues for being fantastic partners and examples of folks to work with and folks to follow their lead. And thank you guys for the work that you do and the example that you set. It's easy to do this work when you have great people to do this work with. And here in Franklin County, we have an administrative team. I have great partners. I have great examples in the community. It is easy for me to be an advocate in this community. It is easy for me to be an advocate when I have great folks in the community. I see Reverend Alshaw in the back there. I have great examples. We have great examples in all of Franklin County. And so it's easy for me to do this, and it's easy for me to do the work that I do when we have D'Amica Withers doing the work that she does. It's easy for me to do this when I was raised the way that I was raised. And, I was the youngest of 12 kids. I had to be a fighter, and so being a tough SOB is easy for me to be. And so this was easy for me, and so I appreciate the honor. I really do.
Yeah.
I'll close this out by, just taking a second to acknowledge my colleagues, Commissioner Crawley. I think it takes, first of all, one of my favorite attributes about you is your transparency and openness, for what it's worth. I think it takes a lot of courage to be that way, and I aspire to have that kind of courage like you do, and I appreciate you. And your words have more impact than you think on other people, even myself. Okay, so I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you for your leadership. I didn't know what a doula was until you came around, so thank you for that. I really didn't. She said, "You don't know what a doula is? Let me tell you." And so it's easy to support. And so she has been our doula educator and champion for sure, among many other things here. So thank you for that. And to Commissioner O'Grady, I do want to say that, he is being sincere as it comes and authentic as it comes right now. His father, Pete O'Grady, was longtime chairman of the Democratic Party when I started in politics. And every day, not every day, but once a month maybe, would take me to lunch, just a little kid from the neighborhood, and talk to me about politics and being in politics. And the conversations we had at the Levesque Tower, the press club, was, he was just taking me, and I was nobody, and I was just a kid, and I don't know what he saw in me, but he took the time to spend quite a bit of time before I even knew you, and knew the connection. He took the time and spent a lot of time with me then, and I'll never forget that, and I do believe he's instilled those into you. The other part I say is that Commissioner O'Grady is truly a healthcare advocate. And myself, I was struggling to take blood pressure medication. And I was telling him and Commissioner Crawley about it one day. And Commissioner O'Grady, in true SOB fashion that he does, turned to me and said, "Stop being stupid. Take the damn medicine." And we were right up here. And he went on to explain his own journey and pathway. This is why we're like in session here, and we're talking about it. And he was dead serious about it, and on my ASS about it. And Commissioner Crawley co-signed with him on it. And so I take blood pressure medication to this day. You know, don't like it. I absolutely hate it. But I do think often about your nudging me when I don't want to take it, or I think about relatives who are no longer with me and the difficulties they've had. And then finally, I say, Commissioner Grady, it is more meaningful in the broader case of advocacy for those who are at the bottom rung of this healthcare conversation when a white guy stands up and makes that kind of advocacy.
Yes.
And quite frankly, your advocacy probably makes a broader, bigger difference than anything I could do or Commissioner Crawley could do. So I wanted to acknowledge that. Last night, I went for a run, trying to train for this marathon, Lord have mercy, and went for a long run in the heat. And afterward, I said I can get some protein in, so I went to dinner. I went to North Star, and over in Short North, and there was nobody there. The bar was pretty empty, so I sat there, and I had a salad and a piece of fish. That's it. And at the end of the bar, I could hear there was a white couple talking, and they were just maybe 3 or 4 seats down, so I could hear their whole conversation. Not that I was listening, but I was. But their whole conversation was about the African American Wellness Agency. And they were talking about all that they've learned about screenings for black men. And the lady just kept over and over. I really felt like she wanted me to hear what she was saying, but
We're glad you did hear.
yeah, right. She just kept saying, and black men. And she had every statistic down, and she said that she had gone to the walk. I think she said she just ran just because she was running. But she did the homework to sort of learn, and she could not believe the statistics. And she said even more so, she couldn't believe the number of people from that street screening that came out and were identified with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, whatever. And she went on and on. And the guy that was with her, he was giving feedback to say, yeah, wherever he worked, he was saying that we've been doing things specifically around it because we see the numbers too. And they had this whole conversation. And so, Commissioner O'Grady, I got to tell you, from the couple that I listened to last night to your advocacy and work, I really believe the needle is moving. It's moving slightly in the direction of our favor, but we have a ways to go, and that is the purpose of this grant. That's the purpose of the grind that you all do, whether you're in Detroit, Houston, or wherever you travel to promote this cause, because it's not enough to do it here in Franklin County, in Central Ohio, and Columbus, because that's our community and our town. It has to be a national conversation. It has to be a national strategy and approach and commitment. And I know this personally, that culturally, black families often grow up, and it's not about, my wife grew up in a very middle-class home, 2 parents, doctor's appointments, and she'll go to the doctor. She's very diligent about doctor's appointments, about screenings and different things. Me, I didn't grow up in that environment, so just culturally going to the doctor on a regular basis and not as just an emergency. When I grew up, you only went to the doctor when it was an emergency, when your hand was falling off or something, And that is a poverty-oriented mind construct, but it also, poverty is connected to racism and race. And unfortunately, all the statistics say that. It's not me just saying that. And so my point is, this, I know there are some who say, why black men? Why are we talking about black people? And there is, I don't care where you pull your statistics from, they will consistently show that not only are black men the bottom rung in a healthcare standpoint, and black women, but culturally, it is something that we have to overcome, from diet to screenings to mental health, all of these things. And I just talked to a mental health provider the other day, and they said that, I said, is it just me, or is the mental health at its height? Now, I feel everybody is stressed. I feel like a different level. And the mental health provider said, 100% that it is spiking at a point to where, and to Commissioner O'Grady and Commissioner Crawley's point, you know, mental health is healthcare. You know, we have historically haven't had the parity from a insurance standpoint that we need to have, but the effect is very similar. You know, you have mental health issues, and they can create physical health issues, high blood pressure, diabetes, because you might eat from, is what you're saying, you might eat from stress, you might drink from stress, you might take medication for stress. I mean, all of those things create the kind of spiral, and when you look at the unemployment rates, the housing rates, the education rates, all those things are connected that drive substance abuse, mental health, and different things, and so you have a race that's still struggling to come out from the bottom. And so I only say that because I know there are people out there who listen to us making these appropriations and whatnot and say, oh, you're just doing that because you got 2 black commissioners. That's why I want to emphasize Commissioner Grady is just, he understands this just as much, and that's why I shared the personal story, because it's authentic and sincere, and it's learned. You know, it's something that he's gotten to a point where he said, we've got to address this. And Commissioner Brown was the same way. When she was here, she understood it, and so we invested in it. You know, this is the easier part of our job, the easier decision. We have many tough decisions. This is not one of them. So.
Yeah, I know you said you were going to wrap up. I do want to talk about the jail real quick, because you are so much of a champion about, you know, really addressing the disparities in our criminal justice system or in our jails that we are responsible for, in black men being there, as well as the JIC, which our youth are in. But when you talk about going into the jail, it is so necessary. And I think we are one of the leading, I mean, we lead in a lot of spaces, and I'm proud about that. But one thing that we lead in for the county, and we have 3,066 counties in this country, is one that has like long-acting injectables for those who have chronic and serious pervasive mental health illnesses. But that is not enough. And if we think about who we house in our jails, is the largest population of people with mental health, right? And so the fact that you all are going, and they're black men, black men, we already know that, overrepresented 60%. And when we think about that compared to our population, it's devastating. And so we know that just treating the symptoms of mental health in our jail is not enough, or having long-acting injectables, or giving them a prescription for a couple of days when they leave is not enough. Like, we know that we need people in our jails talking to our neighbors, our residents, about what got them into, you know, a criminal incident, right? Or what are the things that are really happening at home or in their life that had them end up coming into jail. What is it about their life that they would like to change, and really working through that with them. I know Commissioner Boyce probably saw this when he was in the State House. We both sat on the Correctional Institution Inspection Committee. I did after he served. And we would get letters all the time from people saying, you know what, I've been in prison for 3 years, or I've been in jail, sitting in jail for years, and I'm getting ready to be released, and I've never had anyone talk to me about my substance use disorder, or, well, they say my drug addiction, or my mental health. I'm scared that I'm going to relapse when I come back out. I did not get any programs or services. So I just want you to know that what you do, or what you're going to do in our jail, it's not like another program. We're talking about processes. We're talking about things that can be transformative. So these residents don't come back into our jail or come back into the JIC. We have more youth ready to be bound over from our JIC into jail or to prison than we've had before. That's saying that we have juveniles with felony convictions who are being ready to be sent over as an adult, who are probably dealing with trauma, or dealing with some of the things that Commissioner Boyce saw as a child, or lost their family, or had gun violence, right? Like, these are things that will take time to deal with, but we should not write them off. And so I appreciate you all being willing to go into our jail to talk to our residents, because most of the people in our jail have not been convicted of a crime. They are human beings having human experiences, and just need a chance to turn things around.
Thanks. And I think Commissioner.
Well, go ahead.
Okay.
I know we've been the time is long, but I feel it necessary to make some comments. The folks with the National African American Wellness Initiative know how I feel about your work. You all this work is important. The work you've been doing, focusing on African-American males has been important. I'm excited about the Uplift Her movement. That was quite an event you all just had. So we got to take care of all the sisters and brothers, particularly at a time when the America's Rescue is not over. In the American Rescue Act, dollars are diminishing every day. And I was just talking to the team from Job and Family Services yesterday for my fiscal update, and our PRC program dollars are dwindling, and they were looking to me for answers, and I'll be talking to you all soon about that. But the work that you all doing as a board, I feel blessed to be the county administrator for Franklin County and have the opportunity to work with you three. And Commissioner O'Grady, you one of the West Side finest. In every sense of the word, man. I've been knowing you for a long time. You one of the West Side finest. But seriously, to the point, poverty is the 4th leading cause of death in the United States of America. Just let that soak in. When we said, we say poverty is a public health crisis. And we talk about the Rise Together Poverty Blueprint. And when poverty is the 4th cause of death in the United States behind only heart disease, cancer, and smoking, that means this work is critical because people don't have access to health care, food, stable housing, and because of the issues around safety, not even opportunities for physical activity in many zip codes in America. This work is critical. We're blessed in Franklin County. This is a great county, but we got challenges and we need community partners. And you all spoke about the community partnership program and the work that we're doing. And we can't back off from DEI. We need to have the most active Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion of any county in the United States. We need to show up, show out, keep doing what we're doing, and be intentional about it, and have no shame in what we're doing, because we're doing the right thing for the people of Franklin County. So thank you, President Boyce, Commissioner O'Grady, and Commissioner Crowley, allowing me to speak.
Commissioner O'Grady, did you have something else?
Just briefly, Commissioner Boyce mentioned my father. And folks knew him and what an impact he had, and but his sense of justice came from, he went to law school, he was a bailiff in the court system, he was involved in politics and government, but what I learned about social justice came from my mother, my father taught me, believe me, taught me a whole lot about justice. He was he was a great man, and he was a strict individual for sure. He had to be with 12 kids. He also had a military background. But for the women in the room, in particular, my mother was such an advocate for social justice, and so that's the basis of a lot of the work that I do as a county commissioner. The work that I do as an elected leader, the work that I do as a political leader, certainly is the basis of the education of my dad. But the work that I do as a county commissioner, the work that we do together, that work all comes, and the work that I do, that I think led to this honor today, a lot of that comes from my mother. So when you talked about that, I just wanted to mention my mom based on the work, and that was mostly for the especially the women's staff in the room who I work with day in and day out. Moms and the impact of mothers on raising all of us, and the work that my wife does, and the work that we're doing raising our kids today is, I can't even imagine the impact that and the work that that my wife does raising our kids and what our kids would be like if, if she wasn't impacting them, because, I'm half the parent she is, so.
I don't believe that at all. Well, again, thanks for coming down today. As you can see, I mean, we don't spend this type of time in general session on any issue unless it's serious and we feel very strong about it. Most issues, we're getting through. We've done the work in the background. And so just know how much we're with you and how much we're counting on you to continue championing this work and making the progress that you're making.
Well, again, thank you. We see commissioners I'm telling you, all over this country. We sit down and talk with them, long meetings, and the first thing we talk to them about is, here's what the Franklin County Commissioners are doing. Can you match them? Most of them can't. But what we do let them know is that it is the leaders of this community that has to be about the voice of change. We can't do it without you. We got to do it in partnership with you. So I just thank you all for being an exceptional group of politicians. Even amongst the state, is that when we talk to politicians amongst the state, you all still do far more better than most politicians we talk to.
We know.
And I want.
We know.
And before we leave, I do want to say to Danica, she does an unbelievable, incredible job. And she holds us very accountable and lets us know, what y'all doing, and let me know. So we appreciate the sincerity of the work that she's doing that keeps us in line.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, is there adoption? Is there a motion, brother?
Yeah, if there are no further comments or questions, I will move approval of Resolution 56424.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 56424 has been adopted.
Thank you.
And if it was, it would be okay. I would say bring them in.
Economic Development Planning.
Resolution number 56524, resolution authorizing the county administrator to execute on behalf of the Franklin County Board of Commissioners to execute the attached discharge of mortgage instrument for Amber Hopper at 1015 Hart Road, Township of Franklin, Ohio 43223.
Good morning, Commissioners, County Administration. I had a Browns joke, but I think I'm 37 minutes past my opportunity, so we'll get back to business on that. But I see you, Commissioner O'Grady, I see you. This resolution seeks your approval to authorize the execution of a discharge of mortgage. Amber Hopper received a housing assistance grant on November 21st, 2019, in the amount of $11,000, $780.50 from Franklin County Commissioners. This loan has been paid off in full. Pending any questions, I respectfully request your approval of this resolution.
Well, that's why you're one of the best employees in
I
Franklin
try.
County. If there are no further comments or questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 56524.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
It's only because of the lady who needs her mortgage discharged. I will, yes.
Commissioner Boyd.
Yes.
Resolution number 56524 has been adopted. Resolution number 56624, review of petition to annex 132.471 acres more or less from Brown Township to the City of Columbus, case number ANX-11-24.
This resolution is to consider an expedited Type 2 annexation petition of 132.471 acres, more or less, from Brown Township to the City of Columbus. The area to be annexed includes 9 addressed properties located near Hayden Run Road, parcel numbers 272-000189, 120-000214, and 272-000232. This petition was filed by Tom Hart of Painter & Associates LLC on behalf of the property owners Abazi Farms, Gail E., and Robert D. Martin, and Columbus and Franklin County Metro Park District. 31% of the site's perimeter is contiguous to City of Columbus. This petition meets all the statutory requirements outlined in Section 709.021 of the Ohio Revised Code. Pending any questions, I request your approval of this resolution.
If there are no comments or questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 56624.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 56624 has been adopted. Resolution number 57024, resolution authorizing the Board of Franklin County Commissioners to execute the attached partial release of mortgage and partial release of restrictive covenant for Community Housing Network Incorporated.
On May 18th, 2021, the Franklin County Board of Commissioners approved Resolution 365-21, authorizing $600,000 in U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Program Year 2021 Home Investment Partnership Funds to Community Housing Network Incorporation. On July 27th, 2021, the Franklin County Board of Commissioners approved Resolution 574-21, authorizing the approval of associated agreements for Resolution 365-21. By granting a partial release, it secures the requirements set for by the home loan and property under that mortgage. The partial release will not impact the mortgage on the existing units funded with home dollars. Pending any questions, I respectfully request the approval of the partial release of mortgage and a partial release of restricted covenant.
If there are no comments or questions, I'll move approval of Resolution 57024.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 57024 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 57124, resolution appointing Franklin County Commissioner Kevin L. Boyce to serve as Franklin County's representative on the One Columbus Board of Directors.
Good morning, Commissioners. Janine Hummer on behalf of G. Gary Tyack, Prosecuting Attorney. You have before you a resolution that appoints Commissioner Boyce in his official capacity to this board. What that means is by virtue of appointing him in his official capacity, there is a built-in conflict acknowledgement, and it's clear by this appointment that Commissioner Boyce's actions will be for the benefit of the Franklin County Board of Commissioners and the county as a whole.
All right.
Pending any questions, I'd ask for your approval of this resolution.
All right, I am happy to make or move approval of resolution. If there are no further comments or questions, I'm happy to move approval of Resolution 57124.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 57124 has been adopted.
Thank you, Purchasing.
Resolution number 56724, resolution approving purchases for various Franklin County agencies in the amount of $7,999,175.36.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Perry Valenier, Director of Purchasing, and joining me is D'Amica Withers, Chief Economic Equity and Inclusion Officer for the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. This resolution requests your approval of 89 purchase orders for which the county auditor has pre-certified available funding, and D'Amica has the supplier diversity data for you this morning.
Thank you, Megan. Commissioners and County Administration, 8 of the purchase orders being presented are being awarded to small and emerging businesses totaling $126,666.62. These awards are distributed as follows: 1% to small and emerging businesses, 4% to women-owned businesses, and 3% to minority-owned businesses. Once approved, 6 agencies will provide equitable and inclusive opportunities to small businesses this week. That includes the Court of Common Pleas, the Data Center, Probate Court, Public Defender, Public Facilities Management, and the Sheriff's Department. Pending any questions, we respectfully request your approval on this resolution.
All right, if there are no comments or questions, I will move approval of Resolution 56724.
Second.
Moved and seconded voting, Commissioner O'Grady.
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 56724 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board of Commissioners.
Resolution number 56824, resolution approving an amendment to the lease agreement with Repsa LLC for additional space at 1690 through 1692 Morse Road, and authorizing the county administrator to take additional actions not inconsistent with this resolution in the amount of $6,561,898.88.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jesse Armstrong, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney. This resolution would authorize an amendment to an existing lease with Repsa LLC to add an additional 25,665 square feet of space at the Morris Plaza condominium. This is home to the Board of Elections space, a bulk of which is currently owned by the county. 24,000 square feet of this would become available immediately, where The final 1,600 will be available and added in the near future. This expansion would allow for continuing expansion and consolidation of Board of Elections operations at their location on Morse Road, as well as other potential future county uses. The term of the lease runs through December 31st of 2038, and the price for the space is the same as the current lease, which is held constant through 2033. Pending any questions, we respectfully request your approval.
If there are no comments or questions, I will move approval of Resolution 568-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 568-24 has been adopted. Resolution number 569-24, resolution authorizing communications, outreach, and engagement-related support for the deployment of the Link Us Mobility Initiative.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Long, Deputy County Administrator. As you know, Link Us is a collaborative effort between the City of Columbus, CODA, the Columbus Central Ohio Transit Authority, MORPC, and Franklin County to improve public transportation, expand pedestrian infrastructure, and create more walkable communities. In essence, more CODA service, additional sidewalks, and rapid transit. Link Us will provide additional access to jobs, healthcare, education, and recreation, while also reducing traffic congestion and promoting sustainable development. A public outreach campaign is important to educate residents about the Link Us Mobility Initiative and its benefits, and pending any questions, would respectfully request approval of this resolution, which approves funds for this purpose. It also matches funds that the City of Columbus and CODA and MORPC are also putting forward for this purpose.
If there are no comments or questions, I will move approval of Resolution 569-24.
Second.
Moved and seconded, voting, Commissioner O'Grady,
Yes.
Commissioner Crawley,
Yes.
Commissioner Boyce.
Yes.
Resolution number 569-24 has been adopted.
Thank you.
Commissioner, before we do journalizations and close, can I do one thing?
Please.
So this weekend, if folks don't have anything else going on, I know a bunch of us are heading out of town for the NACO conference, and the injustice of the fact that we're going out of town for the NACO conference is that as at a NACO conference years ago, more than a dozen years ago, I worked with some folks to come back here and create the annual Food Truck Festival, which is this weekend. Well, it's the first of two, or three or four, actually. There's one in Whitehall at the end of the month, and then there's the second of the Whitehall, or the Columbus Food Truck Festival is actually gonna be in Hilliard next month. But the Food Truck Festival is this weekend on the riverfront, if anybody has anything going on. A buddy of mine started it when we came back from a NACO conference back in 2011. So it's this weekend, four and a half dozen food trucks, dozen and a half artists, and dozen and a half bands, vendors, all kinds of stuff. So if you're not doing anything this weekend, we're gonna be out of town. I'm gonna miss it. I hope my kids get down there though. But the Food Truck Festival's this weekend, so. Commercial, sorry about that, but my buddy runs it. And I'm invested in their success because I helped to create it, so.
And Commissioners, to pair that, it is also the Columbus Metropolitan Library's Book Festival on Saturday and Sunday, which is a great pair with the
Yes,
Food Festival.
Yes, very, very near and dear to Chris Long's heart.
And mine, if you're a bibliophile.
Yeah,
Which
all
you
right,
are.
sorry, thank you. You can have
Are there any journalizations?
Yes, there's one. The 2024 committee assignment for the Board of Commissioners regarding Planning Commission has been updated to assign Autumn Glover as Commissioner Crawley's designee. This noted assignment will be filed with today's meeting minutes for the record and will be distributed to our internal and external partners who may be impacted.
Outstanding. That concludes our meeting. Thank you so much.
Happy Tuesday.
Good week.
I know, I'm sorry, I know.